Hey everyone, this is Miss Segovia, and I'm going to walk you through how to fill out the 3-page foldout for the neuron and the synapse. So go ahead and get these all taped together. I actually recommend putting your tape on the back side of here because it sometimes you put it over the top and then you try to write and it doesn't work very well. So just a little word of advice. Now the reason I like this is because it gives you a nice flow of what's happening when we receive an action potential at the end of a neuron. So here you notice right here we got presynaptic neuron, synaptic cleft, and postsynaptic cell junction. That's where we're going to be using some of our vocab. So, all right, so our step 1, which is happening right here, you can see that our action potential is coming down to the end of the neuron and a little depolarization is happening. So we're going to write up here in the box, action potential arrives at axon terminal. And we're going to have to write really tiny today, so bear with me. Axon terminal and depolarizes the presynaptic membrane. So depolarizing, we're shifting our charges, the positives and negatives are alternating. So that's happening here. Now our next step, you can see there's some calcium coming in. So calcium, voltage gated channels, they're open. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So calcium voltage gated channels open. So when the action potential actually changes the neurons right here, sorry, not the neurons, the charges, the ions, those ions change our voltage, which takes this one, which was normally closed, and opens it up. In step 3, you can see now we have calcium enters the presynaptic neuron. So we get a rush of calcium. And I know over the years you've always heard that calcium is important for your bones. It does a little bit more than that. So once the calcium comes in, it's going to merge with these synaptic vesicles. So, or not merge, but it's going to activate them. So presence of calcium activates synaptic, oops, can't spell today, can't do much today, vesicles. So these little vesicles, so they're little things, and inside these guys there's some pretty cool stuff called neurotransmitters. So like your acetylcholine, your dopamine, all those things that you hear about are located within those. And so it's going to make those little guys move to the membrane of the presynaptic vesicle, or not, presynaptic neuron. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. So step 5, synaptic vesicles with neurotransmitters migrate to and fuse with the presynaptic membrane. So it activates them, they start migrating to the edge, and then once they get there, you can see they pop open. So vesicles are released into the synaptic cleft, Sometimes you also hear this referred to just as the synapse. And it does that through exocytosis. The particles are exiting the cells right up here. Then in step 7, we've got these little guys coming across the membrane, and you can see what they're going to do here on the opposite side, but they're merging with the receptors. And we've talked about receptors in our communication unit here. So in this one, neurotransmitters, and right now neurotransmitters, we're going to call these little guys, because they're a long word to write, we'll just call them NTs. Alright, so neurotransmitters. NTs diffuse across the synapse and bind to receptors. And in this case, that whole process, depending upon which one it is, can excite or inhibit the next neuron. So it's just whatever it is. If it's an excitatory, it's going to pop it up. If it's not, it's going to be a blocker or decrease the reaction later on. All right, and then, so step 8, you'll notice over here on the side, there's a little autoreceptor right there. And so what's happening here is we're getting all these guys released out into the synapse. At some point, that needs to stop. And so a little autoreceptor can monitor when there's enough neurotransmitter in the synapse that we can stop releasing it. So it's a nice little regulatory component right here. So step 8, and this isn't in everything, but it just happens to be in this one. Autoreceptors regulate NT release by monitoring the amount in the synapse. So you get like a nice little negative feedback. If there's too many in there, we'll shut it down. Then in 9, we have reuptake transporter. So it's released all these neurotransmitters into the synapse. Some of those would be kind of nice to recycle and reuse if we have the capability to do so. And some we do. And so there's a little way to take them back in. So transporter protein transporter protein presynaptic neuron takes neurotransmitters back in to reuse. So it'll actually bring those back in, it'll merge them with a vesicle, and then it could be released later. So it just kind of saves a little energy on the cell because it doesn't have to keep producing. And then in step 10, we have our little enzyme here. And you notice that like not everything's going to get taken back up and not everything binds. So we need to break down what's left over. So enzymes, like there's one called acetylcholinesterase, right? So in synaptic cleft, break down neurotransmitters and with those, once they break them down, they can get reabsorbed and reused again. Break down neurotransmitters that can be recycled for later use. So you just kind of get like the raw parts, and it'll put it back into the snaps, and then we can use those again later. A lot of drugs and stuff will actually kind of mess with this process so that it'll stop it from occurring, and you get a bunch of neurotransmitters still in the snaps. They can block reuptake or do damage to the enzymes, and then you're being constantly stimulated, which can do a whole heck of a lot of damage. All right, so that is the basic process there. Over here, you guys have your neuron parts. So this one's pretty easy for you guys to do. I'd like you to go and just do a little bit of research, do a little online, and find out what all of these guys do. So that one's pretty simple, and I think you can handle that on your own. Thanks.